E-voting machines will count at least 3 out of every 4 votes cast in next week's election. But the e-voting machines may not be reliable. They may not be safe from tampering. If the voting process is not secure, then our very democracy is at risk. A new documentary, Hacking Democracy, is set to air on HBO Thursday evening, telling the story of writer-turned-voter activist Bev Harris. She joins us now, and along with Bev, Hugh Thompson, Chief Security Strategist at the firm Security Innovations. Good to have you both here. Bev, we have been reporting here. I know you've been working on this issue for years. How dire do you think the threat is come Tuesday?
I think Tuesday is going to be pretty rough. It may look okay on Tuesday, but in the 10 days following, I think we're going to find a lot of records that don't match up, and there's going to be a lot of confusion. A lot of confusion.
Do you think, we hear from our viewers all the time, concerned in a partisan way about what will happen with these machines manufactured by 4 basic manufacturers. They view these machines not only suspiciously in terms of the software that they use, the way in which they're designed and operated, but they think there's true partisan influence. Do you agree?
Well, I think on both sides. You see, the problem with the machines is whoever has custody of the machines has a tremendous advantage if they choose to manipulate the election.
And I cannot imagine, Hugh, how we got to a situation where the federal government is spending billions of dollars to buy machines that can be opened with mini bar keys that can be tampered with.
It's kind of scary when you kind of take the analogy of electronic voting machines with other machines that have huge consequences of failure that people put their trust in. Like when I get into an elevator to come to this interview, right, or when I go in an airplane, I believe that somebody that knows a lot about airplanes and knows a lot about elevators has checked these things out for safety and security. But the kind of flaws that we've found just sort of show that that checking really isn't being done.
In the documentary, one example of the way these machines can fail is the case of Susan Berniker, a Republican candidate from New Orleans, as you well know, who ran for city council. Let's take a look at what happened.
This is where I came the day that the warehouses are open to the candidates to inspect. So I came here with an old college buddy. He grabbed his camera, and I asked him to show me how the machine worked. So I just started fooling around with the machine. And it's when I pressed the button next to my name, and then I look down and I see Mr. Gambaluka's name in the display when I press Susan Berniker.
What do you think?
All too common, unfortunately.
Well, she obviously wasn't too pleased about that,
you can imagine.
as I can imagine. Yes, as we all can imagine. This has already happened in early voting down in Florida, as Kitty Pilgrim reported here tonight. How did we get to the point that 4 basic manufacturers making these machines, using laboratories to test and verify their equipment, that the companies pay rather than independent federal agencies doing so, or even state agencies? How did we get here, Hugh?
You know, it's interesting that the folks that are actually verifying the machines, it's kind of like asking me, right? So my PhD's in mathematics, and it's like asking me to verify the flight worthiness of a Boeing 737. I don't know anything about planes or avionics, but I can say, well, it's got a couple of engines, it's got a big fin on the back, looks like it's good to go. There's somebody sitting in the front seat. And that's what's happening with voting machines. You have people that don't understand software security that are saying, okay, it adds 2 votes together, let's push it off. So we really need new standards.
And the idea that these companies with their proprietary software, and this is the part I really love, are basically in control of the election because no one can verify what they're doing except their own employees. What are we going to do?
Well, one of the things, it's too late for this election to really do any fundamental changes. And so one of the things we need to do is really document the heck out of this situation. And, you know, in 2004, we had people telling stories. This time we need to be out there with video cameras and get public records so that we can really tell the story of what happens.
Well,
then we're going to need to solve it long term.
Well, the Diebold Corporation is not happy about this documentary, so we want to issue, and they issued this request to HBO. They said, the material errors and material misrepresentations are so egregious that HBO should pull the documentary. Failing that, a pre-airing rebuttal and disclaimer are not only appropriate, but also in the best interests of HBO and its subscribers. Now, we talked with the representatives of HBO earlier. They said they plan to stand by the documentary. They have no plans to withdraw it. I'm sure that pleases you. It does anyone interested in free speech and expanding the public knowledge and the public's right to know. They also say that the documentary Deep Hole refers to isn't the same one that HBO will air. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
here's
going
a good
on?
thing. You know, if you're going to make a letter like that, it would be good to actually watch the documentary.
That would be
That would be a
advisable.
start.
Yeah. But you know, the interesting issue is the documentary really isn't about a particular company or particular voting system. It's more about, you know, we don't have standards to verify these things.
And we should point out, we have been doing intensive reporting on this broadcast. We want to point out that
Fantastic
Diebold has not ever accepted my invitation to join me here to talk about it, which we find remarkable. We thank you both. We wish you good luck, Bev. Hugh, thank
Thanks
you very
so much
much.
for your coverage.
Thank
Yes.
you.